Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, let him take up his cross daily and follow me. That's a hard thing to hear.
Well, for one thing, when I was younger, I thought suffering was unfair. At times, I still do.
Told me, hey, if you want to grow quickly in Jesus, ask God to bring suffering to your life. I thought he was nuts.
Sometimes we run into a bad week and we wonder where God is.
I wondered if for a short time if God had forgotten about us.
Suffering, yeah. Yeah, nobody likes it.
God is with us in our suffering.
Because of my experience that God is there in the suffering.
In my heart, it was that if I do everything right, I'm not going to suffer. If I tithe and I pray enough every day, and if I read the Bible enough every day, and if I do all the right things and don't do any wrong to anyone else, I'm not going to suffer. And I realize now that, you know what, it's so clear in life that while we have blessings, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to have suffering.
You are a Christian, and so therefore, since you're a Christian, you're going to have a perfect life. You know, you're just going to follow this trajectory, and life doesn't always go exactly how you think it's going to.
Someone's doing some teaching that doesn't include that, and pretend like a person erases the idea of suffering from the Christian experience because they want people, you know, it might be an unpopular idea and they want people to come to the Lord, so they're not going to tell them about that. I would question that, you know, and come against that and say, you're not telling the whole truth here.
And sometimes life takes you down a rocky road. And even though the journey has been hard, and it definitely is not the end result that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I have felt times when I was praying but wasn't hearing.
I'd been following Jesus for 15 years or so. I personally just hit a wall. I'm leading worship, I'm playing the guitar, and I just stopped and I just set the guitar down and just said, I can't do another meeting, I can't pray another prayer, I can't sing another song. I said, I'm just done. For 5 years, this felt like God was silent. You know, the only thing I knew was to just keep walking.
It was a time I will just categorize of loving discipline, and I got a little prideful. Well, I should say a lot of prideful. He sent a number of messengers, plenty of cues to give me an opportunity to humble myself, of which I didn't accept. And so he then took it upon himself, because he loved me that much, to put me under his discipline. And part of that discipline is, man, I just didn't hear from him anymore.
A lot of times. I remember there was one time where I was really upset. I had suffered a loss in my life, and I came to his office kind of unannounced, and I was just in tears, and I just sat there for a while crying. And he said, well, what you're feeling right now is a feeling of grief because of your loss.
I can remember that in the past, suffering brought growth or understanding or an ability to be somebody else's, help.
I view suffering as a tool or an instrument in the hands of God to develop us into mature believers. I can testify personally as I look over my life how suffering has bore amazing fruit in my life.
I think that God builds our persistence if we allow him to. It's difficult.
I think the way it's changed is that I've suffered. It's one thing to kind of go, yeah, if you're going to really follow Jesus, you're going to suffer, and to acknowledge that as a spiritual reality or just as a reality of life. I mean, that 5 years of just darkness was quite the challenge. But I think that to actually have kind of gone through some suffering times and the intimacy and the sense of closeness that God is with us in our suffering.
Suffering is just part of the deal. Now, what I do believe is promised in the Word, and what God does give us, is He gives us the ability to have joy and peace and patience during that suffering. We get to experience His presence in the midst of suffering. I mean, there's not many things I would say this about, but I think for anyone who says that if we do everything right, that we have enough faith that we as Christians are not going to suffer, I'm telling you that that's heresy. There's just too many scriptures that speak otherwise. A multitude of scriptures that tell us otherwise. Old and New Testament.
When you understand God's there and there is a reason that this is happening, it may take you a year, 2 years, a lifetime to see it. I believe you'll understand it long before you actually know the purpose. And sometimes what's best for you is for you to suffer so that you can serve others through that suffering.
But suffering now, I hope I always say, what are you trying to teach me? What can I get from this?